Okay.
Oh my God,
Why does it look like that?
You didn't have that.
Oh my God.
Thing in the middle of the table, and they would have to say, okay, the guy would beep. You know,
Dirt.
I'd say, you know.
No, it looks
Yeah,
like
why
when it
don't
got dropped, I might have.
you-
Okay, so now what?
Ooh,
Oof.
Some fog on the lens.
yeah.
No, it looks like the
Oh,
lens
the
is
lens.
cracked. Yeah, there's a crack in it.
Uh-oh.
We'll just have to sit like that to see. Okay.
Good morning. It's a little after 9 o'clock. We're going to call this selectmen's meeting to order. I'll ask you to stand for the pledge of allegiance. I believe the pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As you can see, the meeting is being recorded electronically, and that's something we're doing for the benefit of freedom of information. Most of our meetings now, all of our meetings are recorded in that manner. We have we have an audience of citizens. Would anyone like to say something who's not already on the agenda?
Is there an agenda?
Yes, ma'am,
Oh, Mrs. Mayor,
please. Make a
my
comment.
issue happens to be, the light next to the old town hall, pole number 1202. The light's been out for a couple months, I called you about it, but never addressed it.
No, we had that one fixed.
It what?
I thought we had that one fixed,
Oh,
apparently.
no,
we
it's
didn't.
not. fixed.
Okay,
Lights are
hold,
still out.
hold on, what's the number?
1202,
Okay, and the location?
right next to the town hall, between the Maiden property and the Sterling property.
Okay. I will call them as soon as the meeting is over, okay? Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Yes,
I'd like to make a comment when we get to the treasurer's report.
well, make it now.
Well, there's some issues that I'd like to discuss, as far as the, cost overruns for first 2 weeks of July, that why are we at these, negative amounts for the first 2 weeks of July?
Then make your comment, sir.
That's the one you just read. And my most concern is the part-time wages, $45,000 in the minus already, how, I don't understand. Along with these, I highlighted everything in green. And the second thing is, could we take the Board of Ed, I know they got a separate budget, where you combined everything to one. You don't know what the Board of Selectmen and the differences are. Could you put that in the bottom? So you have the Board of Selectmen budget, and then you add the Board of Ed to get the total? Right now, you got the Board of Ed.
So this report comes directly from my program. I don't create this report. I go through and I filter what I want, and it just automatically creates
Yeah, but
this.
is there some way we could put the Board of Ed on the bottom? This way you get.
Why don't you direct your question to her, because she.
Okay, this way we could have the Board of Selectmen budget, what it is, and then the Board of Ed's budget, and then the total on the bottom. Why can't we do that?
So
Because right now it's very
I can do
confusing.
it. I can do it. It's just gonna take me a little extra time, and it's not gonna look
Oh,
like
I
this.
don't.
It's gonna look like what I did kind of for the budget.
Yeah.
It'll have to be an Excel sheet, unfortunately. It won't look like this again.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. It's just that I know it, I've discussed it and before, that simplicity to understand it better. You know, but as far as the overruns for the first 2 weeks of July.
So for the overruns for it so
Well, I don't know
far.
what you wanna call them, but.
For the negative amounts in the budget balance column so far, I'm still working out kinks for the new year. However, the budget balance takes into account what's encumbered on all of the different POs. And I've had to go through and, depending on when this was run, this was 7/14, so this was Monday. So just yesterday, I went through and I redid a lot of the purchase orders. So the encumbrance is gonna look different on this next.
The biggest thing,
Next
the
report.
part-time wages, minus 45,000. How are we at 45,000 the first 2 weeks of July?
We're not, so as of right
What it
now,
says.
part-time wages, we're at 1,166. On the purchase order, encumbered is 56,000 on part-time wages. That's because I had to change those purchase orders. So it's not gonna look like that. Encumbrance is the number that I have on purchase orders. So my weekly payroll is on a purchase order for all 52 weeks. So this budget number over here, the general ledger budget, these amounts are split out on the new purchase order. So remember how you came to me the other day and asked me that question? I went and I did my research to figure it out and fixed it. So this is because they needed a report on the 14th. It's fixed now.
Well, you did, at 3 o'clock, cause
On
I,
the 14th, I did a change yesterday.
50, this is on the 14th, and 116, now it's at 3 o'clock.
Correct, but I didn't change it until the 15th.
Oh, so there's another report,
There is.
okay,
As you come to me with all of the things that you're finding,
Yeah.
I'm fixing it as I go along.
all right, I just, I mean, I'm the only one that pretty much is looking at this point in time, but at a later date, when, I've had comments with, from people that, well, this is confusing. I said, I agree with you, but this is how the Board of Ed puts it out, but they put a separate checking thing with it also. Cause I also observed them.
I have no doubt.
All right, I just hope that we can simplify something to make it I don't know, Jack, what's your opinion?
No, I agree. I think, simple is for me, definitely. I've already talked to Sarah about that.
Yeah, I mean, she's doing a
You
good
know,
job. I gotta commend her about what she's doing.
Oh, yeah,
But I think from, we're at the first of the year now, so when you take stuff and you go, you combine it, it has to be worked on quite a bit.
And that's what she's doing.
There's just kinks and
All right.
bumps and.
But otherwise,
hills
she,
that I'm trying to get over.
I commend her on the job she's doing. She's doing a good job. It's just that she has to now take this, I don't wanna say mess.
Is there a chance that you will ever be satisfied? I'm just asking an honest question. Is there a chance that you will ever be satisfied, no matter what she does? Because I've heard these complaints before, and these comments before. It seems as though no matter what she does, it's gonna be very difficult to satisfy you.
It's not what she does, it's what the situation we had that she's trying to fix.
Right.
And I commend her for that.
I realize that.
But yes, it's gonna take time.
Right.
It's just that the reports that are being put out, it's not her fault, it's the way we've been doing it. It's very confusing.
If I may interject,
Yeah,
these things do take time. We have a new person on. We have people who want to look at the information. Believe me, I come from a time when we didn't even get any reports, or if they were, they were totally indecipherable. It's much improved now. We're working on it, so we can all work together and get it solved. It'll take a little
I have
time.
no problem. I have
All
no
we
problem.
want
I
is
just
to
want
have
to-
everybody understand what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Any other audience comments? Mr. Bamako, you have nothing?
Well, one more thing,
Yes, ma'am.
for the recreation department, they took over the Memorial Day parade this year.
Yes,
Are they gonna be in charge of that forever?
yes.
And the time that that's gonna start again?
Parade, the parade.
Historically, it was 11 o'clock, and this past year it was 10 o'clock,
That's right.
and nobody seemed to know about it until it started. That's
I
just
think
my interjection.
I think the improvement there from the rec department would be better announcement of when it's going to be. We can certainly improve that. The rec department is the logical place to put that situation, and they do it, they've agreed to do it, so I think that's gonna be happening in the future.
Because there's no minutes in any of the meetings. They don't seem to have a meeting with minutes, so
The rec department does not have any meeting with minutes. We could put it in our minutes if that's the case, for the first selectman, for the selectmen's meeting. The rec department doesn't have meetings like this, so they,
there's no record for the public to know. what-
one way or the other, the public should know. We can put it on social media,
Right,
and they
sounds
can,
good.
they can make a poster. They do make posters up, they said those posters only reach a certain number of people. We'll certainly improve that in the future, but I would say the chances are very good that the parade will be starting at 10 o'clock annually, okay? Any other audience comments? If not, we're gonna move on to the next item of business, which would be the approval of minutes from the July 2nd meeting.
I make a motion to set the regular meeting for July 2nd.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it, the motion carries. We also have to approve the minutes of the July 7th meeting.
I make a motion that we accept this July 7th special meeting.
And I'll second that motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries. Do we have any correspondence, Ashley? Answer is no. Unfinished business. Number A, under new unfinished business, discussion regarding a 72-inch double culvert on Snake Meadow Hill Road. That project started on Monday. It'll be completed in all likelihood by tomorrow afternoon. The company that has done the work is extremely efficient, and they, like I said, I was up there at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, and the pipes were already in the culvert. The 2 inserts were already there. Yesterday morning, they were preparing to pump all the product. I can't even describe it exactly. It was a concrete product. They'll get pumped in around the inserted pipes, and the project is going along very, very smoothly. The discussion regarding Charlie Turner's interest in the purchase of town property, he has declined any interest in that property. Discussion regarding the over-the-rail mower update, we've had a few issues with the hydraulic tank, as everyone probably knows. That has been corrected, the machine is out on the road every day that we can possibly get it there. And so far, no more problems. Discussion regarding demolition, removal and of shed and pour concrete slab with branch.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Jocelyn, if you'd be happy to talk about that.
We're just waiting now for the box to arrive, and Stephen said as soon as that arrives and put in place, then the ramps will be put in place, and the rest of the grading will be done.
The ramps for that were poured separately. I say ramps plural, because this particular container box has doors on either end. It needs a ramp on either end. They've been poured. They're simply waiting for what Jack said. That's progress. That job is coming along nicely. Discussion regarding employment contract for Jason Lichardi. That is in the works. We have to get together with an attorney, and that will be completed, I would hope, before the next meeting. New business. Rocky, are you ready? A presentation by Rockwell Wagner concerning the 250th anniversary of America.
That's right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Rocky Wagner from Plainfield. I'm a member of an organization called W3R. This is the W stands for Washington. The 3R is the Rochambeau Revolutionary Route. For those of you that don't know this road right in front of this building is part of a National Historic Trail. It's part of the National Park Service. And as such, it goes from Newport, Rhode Island, all the way to Yorktown, Virginia, right through Sterling, Canterbury, Plainfield, all through pretty much all the way from Wyndham and then beyond. Well, I'm here today to ask you if the town is interested in participating with the town of Plainfield, the town of Canterbury, the town of Scotland, and the town of Wyndham as they're calling it a county, although it's not the whole Wyndham County. It's just all these towns on this route that are affected to all join and be a member as a group here. And what they're offering is educational material for the kids so they can learn about what happened in Sterling and in Plainfield and in Canterbury and Scotland, exactly specific to those towns, what happened in this time period when all these troops landed in Newport and marched through here. Really good stories about like, how did they feed all these troops? Where did they camp? Who could speak English? What happened, like, for example, in Plainfield, the musicians, there was a lot of musicians that were part of this encampment in Plainfield. Well, they played music and all the townspeople came out and had this huge party. So that's been recorded, it's documented. And so what I'm trying to do is get the towns to maybe combine efforts for the 250th birthday of America, which is this year. And we're starting it off in Plainfield with using the auditorium that Link and I were part of the building committee when we built Plainfield High School, to have an event at that auditorium on the 30th of June, 2026. A woman from Washington, D.C., part of this organization, is going to come up and talk about everything that happened along this route in this area. Her name is Dr. Iris DeRose. She's got some amazing stories. She's from France. She's not American, but she's got her doctorate here in the United States. This woman actually went into a castle in France and found all of these documents from this guy. His name is Marquis de Chastelot. He was one of the best English-speaking Frenchmen that came over. He stayed in this house right here in Sterling. Let's see if I got the actual address. It's on Doran's house. It's on right on the street right here. There's good documentation about it. And this is something that this group is offering all this information to the fourth graders and the eighth graders. In addition to this information, about what the Marquis de Chastelot did, he's the one that bought, they slaughtered 13 head of cattle a day just to feed these troops. They bought thousands of eggs, chickens, and everything they could buy, and they paid for it in silver, and the French paid their way. Today's money, they spent $40 billion to help us become a free country. 40 billion. Well, you'd say to yourself, why would anyone spend that kind of money? Well, it turns out this Marquis de Chastelot was very influential with the king. And he also had tremendous relationships with Americans. And all these letters that he wrote were discovered just 10 years ago in a castle in France by this woman, Dr. Iris Thoreau. She's the one that's coming to Plainfield to speak. So she firsthand was part of the team, she herself and the owner of the castle opened up these boxes that haven't seen the light of day in 250 years. And they found all these letters from Jefferson, John Adams, Washington, and many others. I couldn't even tell you all of them. And she got the stamp, and that's how she got her doctorate. So anyway, pretty fascinating story about the history of Plainfield, Sterling, Canterbury, and Scotland. What I'm here to do is ask you and I gave Link the proposal. They want to put signs up on each end of the town saying that this is a designated route. These signs have a value of $300 to $400 or something like that. So we want to put one on each end of town. Same thing with Plainfield. Every town will have these signs. Plus, this information that we're going to give to the kids in the school is also going to be accompanied by these paintings. These are paintings that my brother Dave did. Back in the 70s, my brother Dave was the first selectman of the town of Plainfield, David Wagner. This is a painting, for example, in the Lebanon Elementary School that he did when his kids went to school with him.
May I hold you up 1 second, Rocky? The copy of that you gave me,
Yes.
I handed over to the historical department.
Yeah.
They were thrilled to get it.
Yeah. So this painting here, for example, is in Lebanon, as I said. This is a copy of a painting that's kind of famous. It's hanging in the rotunda of the Capitol in Washington. This is a signing of the Declaration of Independence. But what my brother did is he repainted the painting and he put the 4 people from Connecticut that signed it. There was 4 people from Connecticut that signed the Declaration. So this is kind of special for Connecticut people because no other state has this except us. And so there's a little description that I gave in the bottom of what the original was and what the modified version of it was. And my brother likes to do things like that. He likes to make history specific to a town. He's got lots of paintings about how they landed in Newport. With the Washington when he greeted the ships. A lot of Newport scenes. This is the Marquis de Chastelot. A lot of the troops that came through here, actually almost 20% of those that went to Yorktown and fought for us were African Americans. And some of them were given their freedom if they served. So this is the guy that spoke English, Marquis de Chastelot. He's the one that made all the deals to buy all the things. So these troops had provisions and so forth. So he has all kinds of stories. This is Rochambeau, who was arrested by one of the sheriffs in New York because his troops were camped out in some of these fields and the guy wanted them arrested. So he goes, "You want to arrest me? Go ahead, take me." He had 7,000 troops behind him, so he wasn't going anywhere. There's another scene of Lebanon, the Marquis de Chastelot with Duke de Luzon. So these are all things for the kids for school. We put on a full exhibit at a school for the 4th graders and the 8th graders. This is right over the state line in what they call Rice City. It's not many people that know the name Rice City, but a wagon broke down just over the state line. And all these biscuits, these French baked these biscuits in Providence, and they wouldn't eat them. So they gave them to the townspeople, and they were thrilled because they had their first taste of really good French bread. So anyway, let me put this out. What I'm looking for today is for you to make a decision if you want to join Plainfield, Sterling, Sterling, Plainfield. Right now it's Scotland and Canterbury, and possibly Wyndham, which would be Willimantic. They're going to join in with us too. So we're trying to come up with $44,000 to be part of this organization. That's what get all the signs and get all the education material, and that would be split up by 4 towns. So it's almost $1,000 per town. But if we get Wyndham, it'll go down to $800 per town. So I'm trying to get it as a county type of enrollment, if you want to call it. And all this artwork will be at the schools for the kids. We'll give, if you want permanent pieces for the schools, we can put them up too. you know, so I would provide that for them. You guys, so, basically today, I don't wanna take up too much time, but does anybody have any questions about this? I can answer?
Just one little note that doesn't have anything to do with Washington or Rochambeau or Academy or. When I was born, my folks lived in Rice City,
Oh, yeah,
so.
Yeah.
Just for the record.
Yep.
Noted,
So,
noted that anywhere? I mean,
I
just so you all
I don't
know.
think you did it in any history books, Link, that I know of, but, let me see if I have, so this Dorrance house is actually on the National Historic Register. I don't know, I don't have a picture of it or anything, but, I'm gonna actually, I think it's 718 Plainfield Pike. And it's a house that still exists, it's on the National Historic Register. All these, officers stayed in that house. So that's a, you know, an important, well, you have a great historic district here. You know, and hopefully, people that own it will keep the homes up, because these houses were all here when the troops marched through, you know? So 1781, that's when they came through, and they came back, and Link asked me, you know, what happened in Sterling when they came back? Well, I did the research, and I've got it here for you, about where they stayed and what they did. So I'll give that to you today.
About Route 49.
Yep, I've got it all ready here. So,
Roger, how many of the towns you have on board?
so, Chris Lipke from Canterbury is coming with me this coming weekend. We're going to Philadelphia, and we're attending a conference about
You all
this.
have a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Between you two, you have a really good time.
So, we're going to the Museum of the American Revolution in Philadelphia this weekend. I'm bringing some of the original paintings, which are huge, of this artwork with me. And the museum would actually like the paintings, so we're gonna negotiate a deal there. But, because, you know, this is my brother Dave's legacy, you know, this is what he did his whole entire life, was paint. So, excuse me, the town of Scotland is on board too. So I have to actually go not just to the board of selectmen, I have to also talk to the superintendent of schools, because they're the ones out of their budget, they're gonna pay for the educational materials. For example, Jason Bickford, I think that's his name, from Canterbury, he says, I want all the information material, I need stuff for schools, I need this information. So he wants it no matter what. Even if the town didn't want the signs, he wants the educational material, says,
Right.
I'll make sure you get it. So basically, say $700 for if it works out, 700 for the educational materials, 300 for the signs. Some towns are gonna want more than 3. You know, they might want 4 or 5 signs, I don't know. But we have a vendor already, Chris Lipke got a sign company to cut them out of aluminum, and, you know, we haven't got the final price on the signs yet, but they'll be made locally. The signs will be made here in the area.
Have you had a chance to talk to our school?
I have not talked to superintendent of schools yet.
But you intended?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. That meeting, I just wanted to come before you first and let you know if you
Appreciate
guys are interested in being part of this as a town. You know, obviously, you know, I'd love to, you have a few signs in town right now. Those would probably be replaced, or other signs would be added. You know, when your highway department would have to put a pole up on the sign. So.
Could we give you an answer to this when we have our third selectman here?
Absolutely.
I mean, I
No,
can't
This is a
see-
whole year process.
I can't see David disagreeing, it's just that he wasn't able to be with us this morning. I would like that decision to be made with the 3 of us, if that's okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I will get a hold of you. Our next meeting is the first Wednesday of August, which is a night meeting, at 6:30. And we can bring this subject up to him, and the 3 of us can decide.
I'm
I think
assuming
we're
you
gonna
have
go
to
with
consider
it.
budget.
I just want to get his input.
Yeah. I'm assuming the Board of Education has to vote separately on
They do.
expenditures, and you just do the town stuff.
That's right.
Okay.
Personally, I'd like to see the town get on board with this. I really would.
I agree.
But, and I think Dave would as well, it's just I want to include him in that
Oh,
decision.
absolutely, yeah. So we're going there to get the ball rolling this weekend,
Yeah.
and, you know, I want to be able to go to them, that I got positive feedback from the towns in my area, you know, which is.
Nothing
From
negative.
Shoreline, from the state border all the way to Willimantic anyway, and maybe beyond. So thank you very much.
We thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anyone have it before we leave? Anybody have any questions for?
Oh, if you'd like to look at the map here, you'll get some. I'll just open it up if anybody wants to take a look. This is a publication by the Washington Rochambeau Revolutionary Route, and you can see, oops. Here we go. So this is actually the Connecticut version. So you have Sterling right here. These little signs are different encampment sites. So we obviously have one here. We have another one of these maps from the National Washington Rochambeau Revolution route that highlights Sterling, so, feel free to take a look at these if you like, all right? I'll be here till for a little while. Thank you.
Thank you, Rocky.
Yep, you're welcome.
Discussion regarding Economic Development Commission suggested vendor for phase 2. Sarah.
So the Economic Development Commission has decided to decline both of the bids that we got in for the RFP. They cited the pricing of it is just higher than they were expecting, and the funds that they have in their accounts just aren't up to what they think would be a good standard for the bids. It was a unanimous decision, everybody agreed on it. Once, Steve Hebner gave his reasons, everybody pretty much agreed. So it was unanimous between the whole board.
Why don't you take that one step further with the grant possibility?
Yes. So I had mentioned that it would be a good idea just to push it off, not just to scrap the whole project, because I found a grant that I would work with John in the building department to get. It's gonna be up to $250,000. So it would more than cover the RFP, the bids for the subdividing. And it would also cover a lot of the other expenditures that would go along with the project, such as expanding the road, extending the water and the sewer up to all of that stuff. It's not something that we have to do right away. As long as we get the subdivision done, it could take up to 10 years to get all of that stuff done, just so long as we get that subdivided. So,
Sarah has found out there is money available through grants for this kind of thing. And it's just that if it's available, we would be foolish not to try to get it. And well, the lot she's referring to is what's referred to as phase 2 in the industrial park, 54 acres of undeveloped land. That the bid that the RFP they sent out was for surveying, basically dividing up this 54 acres into various size lots, the smallest of which would be 2 acres. And obviously creating some sort of a plan up there for how you would access all these lots. The, obviously, she indicated sooner or later, you'd have to have a road or several roads perhaps, and all of which would have to have the infrastructure, water and sewer and electric. Those are big ticket items. So it's just that the Economic Development Commission does have some funds. They get their money from rental properties such as the cell tower, such as the incubator building. Both halves of that building are rented out, but they don't have funds to cover this kind of thing. So the idea is that we could get this done by grant, we will be way ahead of the game. So the first step obviously would be get grant money to have the land surveyed and divided out. And then once that was done, when you had interest in those lots, then you would have to start thinking about infrastructure.
and I will mention that the grant, that's the $250,000 grant, is opening up in October. So it's not like it's gonna be a couple years down the line that this grant opens. It's only a couple months. So hopefully we can get the grant money in and then start the project maybe early spring.
It would seem as though we're, from what she's told me about these different grants, it would seem as though we would be a very suitable candidate for this kind of money. So thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that.
That sounds good.
I gotta go meet the superintendent.
Rocky, thanks again.
Take care, everybody. Yeah, bye-bye.
The next one's very important. Consider the reappointment of Lincoln Cooper, I know that name from somewhere, to a 1-year term expiring 6/3/26 to the Chamber of Commerce.
You need a motion for that?
You,
Okay. I'll make a motion that we reappoint Lincoln Cooper to the Chamber of Commerce.
reluctantly, I second the motion. All in favor? Aye. All right, we have to consider the appointment of Ron McLaren to a 1-year term expiring 12/31/26 to the Sterling Family Day Committee.
Motion, we reappoint, or is it appoint? Ron McLaren to the Family Day Committee.
The motion should include the fact that he is going to be an alternate to the Family Day Committee. I'll second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Just for clarification, due to several factors, in the last 8 months or so, Sarah and, she's Ashley, and actually Suzanne got involved as well. We have redesigned the ordinance that created the Family Day Committee. And the reason for that was the terms of office. They were having terms that wouldn't all come due at the same time, just like most other committees. But they weren't following the bylaws. So we had to basically readopt the ordinance to conform to the bylaws, all of which has been done. All was done legally, had to go through a town meeting because when you change an ordinance in any way, it has to be town meeting approval. That has all been done. So what this calls for now is to have, and it was never in the original ordinance, having up to 6 alternate members on the on the Family Day Committee. They don't need to be at every meeting, but if they were at a meeting, if any one of those 6 or more than one were at a meeting and they needed to complete a quorum, then those 2 people could become a member for the night and they would fill out the quorum. They can also take part in anything the Family Day does, and they have in the past. They just done it unofficially, now it's official. That's all simple as that. We have several people who help us out at the event on Family Day on the second Saturday of September, and we have other events as well, but they don't want to become a full-time member, so that's the difference. We have, now the new ordinance makes a provision for that, where it didn't before. So that being said, we have a discussion regarding the approval of the suggested creation of a contingency and capital account, contingency fund and a capital account. Would you be good enough to explain your views on this, Bob?
Well, the idea started when we had such a turmoil over the reval year to meet budget demands, keep tax mill rates in line, and keep customers satisfied and willing to pay taxes. We ran into trouble because the budget got voted down several times, and we wound up not being able to do a section of roads. So a lot of thought has been given to how we can legally and justifiably create some shock absorber accounts within the budget, so that if we meet sudden increases in costs for various things, or we meet sudden resistance at tax time for revenue through taxes, that we can still fulfill as many obligations as possible. Fixing the roads, it's paramount that people have, and they are entitled to, anywhere in town, have a decent road to ride on. And the same with the buses. It's not just, it's a horror story is terrible if something happened to a bus due to the fact that the road wasn't up to snuff for whatever reason. So I think that the idea was that we have a surplus in town. The general fund surplus is significant and enough to experiment with this kind of a shock absorber and create these accounts. Also due to the fact that there's a lot of questions about, well, is this surplus just ever going to grow, and we're always going to be taxed even though it's growing every year? What are we going to do with it? And the idea is to put it into a realistic need for the town, put some of the surplus into a realistic need for the town and have it be available.
Where's everybody?
Most everybody's here.
Building.
They're not here until noon time on Wednesdays.
They what?
They're not here
Yeah.
until noon time on Wednesdays.
How can I find out the permit was pulled or building the site plan is submitted?
What's your question, Madeline?
I want to know if my neighbors pull a site plan because my well is right under their,
Who is it you'd like to see?
what they're building. There's nobody here. Is it a holiday today?
The building office is open noon time today,
Noon time.
noon time, okay?
Okay.
Moving right along.
So the whole purpose is this, how to serve varying needs of the budget and the ability of the selectmen to create a budget that isn't, well, shall we say, if you have no reserve available, you're inclined to say, well, we should put a little more in this, we should put a little more in that, to not live so close to the edge. That you can actually budget realistically and have a contingency, like any contractor would demand if they were providing services for a large amount, they would want a contingency fund in case they ran into trouble. We're only applying that principle to the towns. The Board of Education has that principle employed now. They have what they call their 2% fund, which they can meet desperate needs or changing needs by drawing from, looking for that kind of thing. And my manual for the Board of Finance has, since 1992, been proclaiming that you can create something called a contingency fund, which does exactly that. And up to, according to the statute that I read, up to 3% of the current budget. So that, and this town, this Middlefield is where I've drawn this quote from that talks about being able to, a contingency fund is an amount set aside to provide unforeseen expenditures for anticipated or anticipated expenses of an uncertain amount. So you want to buy something, you're not quite sure how much the exact price is going to be. The amount of the fund may not exceed 3% of the total estimated expenditures for the current fiscal year. This policy will be defined. The target for yearly provision funds for unplanned intra-fiscal year expenditures or overruns. That's the whole purpose of it. And then give their little policy elements and how they define being able to expend this. That is one solution, one potential solution. However, I've encountered some realities here that cause a whole lot of confusion about what's available and what isn't. And maybe you can shed light, if you've called Middlefield where we got this quote.
I spoke to the budget director, finance director of the town of Middlefield. Middlefield's a town approximately twice the size of ours. Still considered to be a very small town. His comments to me were this would be run through the budget. In other words, if you're gonna have a contingency account, essentially it's gonna become a line item in your budget. So if you put in, let's just say 3% of the annual budget, I can't do that math quite quickly in my head, but annual budget for us, now this, we're talking about the annual budget for the town or the budget for the, combined. Let's just say it's for the town. Our budget is approximately $3 million, okay? So 10% of that would be 300,000, 3% of that would be 50,000, something like that. They put that into an account right in their budget. So they elevate their budget by $50,000 if that is the number every year. They apparently don't have a problem getting that passed. I can foresee all kinds of problems here getting that passed.
You see, it doesn't have to be 3%. They only 1.5%. It's a maximum of 3%.
Okay.
But they're only using 1.5%.
On the other hand, if 3% were 50,000, 1.5 is 25,000. Is that worth creating an account for $25,000? That's not much of a shock absorber.
No.
That
They probably have a much larger.
No doubt they have a much larger budget. What I'm saying, even if you went to 3%, let's say 3% of our $3 million budget is $50,000. That would be something, one way or the other, you have to elevate the budget when you create it by $50,000. Is that something that's gonna be able to be passed? The option to that, the way I see it, only me, the option to that would be create your contingency fund from the fund balance. Make it a capital account. Don't put it into the budget at all.
That is more of what I had in mind. And in not being clear on the actual legalities of creating this fund, but the purpose was to apply the surplus fund balance, and some of it toward this, and not re-tax the people twice for some contingency. We had on-hand money they've already been taxed for, that we can put to use in a contingency situation.
I think the question then becomes, how do you access it? How do you access it? Do you access it through, does the law specifically state that the only way to get that money is to have a town meeting?
No,
Because if that's the case, we're right back where we started.
now this, according to every single time I read my manual and I check online for these places that are doing it, no expenditure or transfer may be made from the contingent fund without the approval of the Board of Finance, which would make it just like any other account that you have to deal with now. Instead of.
No limit? Because right now we have a limit of over $20,000 that automatically go to the board, has to go to the town meeting.
Then if that's part of our ordinance, then maybe that's the truth. That's what I was hoping to find out from the lawyer.
Okay.
But,
I have a copy of what the lawyer, Sarah sent the lawyer a question,
yeah,
I have the answer. Good afternoon, provisions of Connecticut General Statute 7-360 through 7-368 would control the establishment, investment, and use of the fund. As specified in Connecticut CGS 7-364, which is between 360 and 68, there are restrictions on what the money can be used for. So it would be more appropriate to call it a capital reserve fund than to call it a contingency fund. This is just his opinion.
Mhm.
Therefore, you are limited as to what it can be used for, and it isn't going to be available to cover any and all shortfalls in the annual budget. Also, as specified in CGS 37364, the money would have to be appropriated by both the Board of Finance and the town meeting to spend it on a particular permitted purpose. Town meeting would have to establish the fund, transfer the money from the fund balance or somewhere else into it, and let me know if you have any questions.
yeah, see, so that's going by that particular statute, and they quote that law 7-348.
Now, you're talking that's a different law. He's talking about laws,
Well, I'm asking about 7-348.
okay,
That's how they create their contingency fund.
This is the contingency fund through the budget, though.
Right.
This is a different one. This is the capital
Outside,
reserve.
A capital account.
So it's two different pieces, because he actually, when I first emailed him, he asked, are we talking about the budget line item? Or are we talking about the non-lapsing?
Yeah, this is not my limited understanding to
That's okay.
separate the two.
I think limited understanding would apply to all of us, by the way.
So how do we thread the needle between, going to the town meeting every time we want, like if you have legal fees that are like $10,000, $1,000.
Is it something that we would have to go to the town every single time we need to go into it? Or is it something that, once a quarter, we take a look at the budget and say, oh, these 4 line items are over budgeted. Let's see if we can get the money through a town meeting. For
You're
these-
mixing apples and oranges, Sarah. but,
Yeah, I think that the lawyer's view is that every time we expend it, we'd have to go to a town meeting
Right.
for that particular kind of account. That, to me, is useless.
That's no different than we have right now.
Right. So,
All we have now that he hasn't specified in here was money under $20,000. Can be approved by you without a town meeting,
right,
you meaning Board of Finance. Above that number, you have to be approved by the Board of Finance as well as the town meeting. 20,000 is the threshold.
I think that there might be some wisdom in having the Board of Selectmen consider what might be a rational overrun. Maybe we're dealing not in hundreds of thousands of dollars, but maybe we could, $50,000 or $60,000 might save your tail on a particular budget year.
I agree.
So that maybe that fund doesn't have to be so big, but it's still there to, protect the town from legal fees or.
The unknown, right,
The unknown.
the unexpected.
And the other thing that we wanted to consider was an actual road improvement or maintenance capital account that could be populated from in one whiz bang over to the.
Two separate things entirely.
Right.
I think the concept of each one of those is agreeable with the Board of Finance is agreeable, the Board of Selectmen is agreeable to the concept of both of them. It's just, I think we have to iron out, one of them, the second one you mentioned, the road account, we're dealing with large sums of money, otherwise there's no point even talking about it.
Right,
So that would obviously have to go to a town meeting. I think you agree with that.
to transfer that money into that account,
Right, and also to use it.
in order, and also to use it.
Well, I'm just thinking,
Well, how is, you have a building maintenance account, right?
building maintenance account right now,
That's
that's
a capital account, and so when we want anything grand out of that, we go to.
over $20,000.
Yeah, that's right. Is there some wisdom in encountering that $20,000 limit, by ordinance?
I would think we could make that limit, whatever you think is necessary, make it $50,000.
Well, to make it practical,
I
rather
agree,
than,
I agree.
so if you make it 50, or even if you're talking the roads, maybe it has to be 100,000, I don't know. What,
But if you did that for the road account, the number, let's just say you did the number, would be 100 would be the threshold,
mhm.
that would be logical. The other one you talk about, the contingency fund, wouldn't need to be nearly that high.
No, wouldn't be, no way. Well, at least I think the way we talked to it with the Board of Finance and with you was that, small amounts that ran over, it, like a legal fee or something like that, that maybe it would stretch it to 20 or 30,000, but still wouldn't cripple that account from getting its purpose done, otherwise.
Right. We set aside, I don't know the actual number this year, I could look it up, but let's just say $20,000 a year for legal fees.
Mhm.
And most of our legal fees come, stay within that realm or very close to it at the end of the year. But if we were hit with a lawsuit, that's what you're talking about,
Mhm.
a lawsuit that comes out of the blue, whatever. That would just take that $15,000 to $20,000, right, would wash it away in a heartbeat. And that's exactly what you're trying to prevent.
So I guess I need to learn more about what is involved in that kind of account. I still don't have the answer about it. I mean, it would be a budgeted amount. Can you just create it and it would be part of the budget? But can it be populated from the general fund through a town meeting? And that way, it's in your budget, but you don't have to
Personally, I
raise
don't-
new taxes. You don't have to raise new taxes to fill it.
I personally think it would be simpler conceptually at least, to keep it separate from the budget. I think it should be two accounts, one the roads, that's a totally separate thing anyway. Like a contingency account that can be, obviously you would use the term populated, can be funded from the surplus.
Mhm.
And just decide on a number. And somehow we'll have to figure out how that money is accessed. I would mix it with the budget so that the voters don't get complicated. You don't want to complicate the voters any more than you have.
No,
I think that you should create an account for roads, that's a given. Then this contingency, take whatever we agree to, $50,000, $60,000, but it's a capital account. It can be accessed through whatever means we decide,
Mhm.
but not through the budget. I think the simpler you can keep it, the better off. That's just my opinion. Yeah. I think anytime you get into the budget,
But
you
by-
get a whole different world.
and as you were saying, even if it isn't part of the budget, if we do it that way, but we still encounter the $20,000 limitation for transferring without using the town meeting.
Which account are you talking about? Contingency or road?
Both of them,
I think you have to put the threshold much higher on the roads.
right.
$20,000 is gonna buy you anything but a culvert on the roads. I really think you have to put the threshold much higher than that. Jenny, can I help you?
Yeah, is the senior center being used at all today?
Wednesday, probably later on this afternoon, but not during the day.
Okay, awesome. We're gonna have there's supposed to be a thing in the gym. It's so hot.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
So after all the discussion, is there, is it better to try to address the $20,000 limitation first? I mean, because you can't spend the money, we might as well be going to the town meeting, even if we create the accounts, because we can't spend it without a town meeting over a certain amount, which, I mean, you might be able to pay a few legal bills, but you can't build a highway. So,
You mean using what we have together, or have already in place?
yeah,
Change the $20,000
Yeah.
threshold to something higher?
I think we should do that.
I think that would make a lot of sense.
$20,000 is just.
yeah, you know, maybe that was fine 40 years ago,
Exactly.
but, you know, you're talking,
Well, as I was talking with Sarah this morning, at one time, the selectmen had a budget threshold of $2,500.
right,
Up to that point, you could do work without bids.
you know,
Now, $2,500 right now won't even buy you a culvert. Trust me, it won't get you one, even if it's not a slightest bit of a problem, it won't get you a culvert in the ground.
so perhaps that's the first archaic problem to
I think maybe
address.
that's where the
I
begin
agree
this
with
whole thing. I think so.
And what would our process be for that? You guys want to have a town meeting to raise it to what?
I'd say 100,000
At
minimum.
least 100,000?
Yeah.
Or is there a way to target that for, I mean, for all expenditures? Will it have to apply to all expenditures or just for the roads? Or whatever, I mean,
I would say all.
how do you phrase that?
I think if you know, I think what you have to do is run this through with the treasurer.
Yeah.
Find out if this is legal to do this. And go, that would include anything that, you're basically talking about any capital account that we have already. We have several. Or if it doesn't come out of the capital account, if it's coming out of the fund balance, $100,000 would be the threshold.
Right.
Let's find out from an attorney if that's legal. And then when basically you have to start, you have to, alter the ordinance. Define the ordinance that created that $20,000 limit. And then alter it to $100,000.
Right,
Just like we did for $2,500 to
right.
$10,000. Same concept.
And then we could experiment with that for a while
Exactly. I
and
think
see how
that's a great
that
idea.
goes, because,
Yep.
you know, you wouldn't have to pull out. Maybe most of the time, if you're doing a stretch of road or you got some, state money, you may need to match it with something.
Mhm.
Maybe not 100,000, but something
Right.
close to get that stretch of road done.
I think that would be a good way to start this process. It certainly would have been improved. You know, from 20,000 to 100,000, I did say that would be a big improvement.
And then we'd also have to put something in the building maintenance fund at the same meeting, I think.
That needs to be funded because it's getting very, very low.
Right,
We've done a lot of work for that money and it's just, that obviously doesn't last forever.
right.
Let's start by contacting an attorney. We'll write up something and see if we can figure out if that's, what his views on going from 20,000 to 100,000.
Right.
And then,
Well,
rework the ordinance.
Then that, I mean, we'd have to be able to explain that at the town meeting, and people showed up and wanted to know why.
Oh, sure, I understand, right, and we had to do the same thing to go from $2,500 to $10,000.
That's right.
That was a major improvement there. And if you'll stick around for about another 20 minutes, we're gonna figure out, I'll show you a good example of that. 15 minutes. Let's take it from here. Sarah can work on that, she and I can work on that together, we'll get something together for a lawyer to look at, okay? Let's use the $100,000 figure as a threshold,
Right,
okay?
because we do have to do something that gives the citizens representation, but also applies our surplus in a rational way that doesn't look like it's ridiculously growing every year. I mean, it is gonna grow, but the people have paid the tax on that. That's how we've gotten it.
Right.
So we owe it to them to put it in a logical, useful place that it can be applied to their advantage. That's my whole motive behind.
It's a very noble motive, but you're right. It's the very same concept that I used when I was promoting having a bus study done. People pay $750,000 a year to transport students. And unless they know that we're doing it the right way, that there isn't a better way out there, they're always questioning. Shouldn't we do this with a contract? But we found out that we're doing it the right way. It would cost us something like $400,000 additionally every year to have a contractor in place. So But that was my thinking, the very same, they have a right to know when that money is being, and the money is being spent the right way.
Right.
But they're taxpayers, and as you said, that money in the fund balance is money they've already been taxed
And
on.
if we can apply the money that have already been taxed on to tangible, useful projects, then we don't have to tax them again to create, to get the jobs done.
I couldn't agree more. Let's see if we can come up with that. We all set with that for the moment? And we'll do some sort of an update in a couple of weeks, and see if we can get an answer. Next item of business is discussion regarding resignation of Stephen Offler from the Board of Finance. I'll read his letter to you.
Nothing to be awful.
So that was a Salisbury comment, I know that.
I couldn't hold back.
Okay. It's all right, nothing wrong with levity, Bob, nothing wrong with levity. It's just that most people don't understand your levity, that's all.
No.
The purpose of this, dear Link, the purpose of this letter is to inform me of my decision not to seek re-election to the Sterling Board of Finance when my current term concludes. I appreciate the opportunity to serve the town in this role. It has been an interesting and rewarding experience, and it's been an honor to participate alongside the very capable members of this board under the leadership of Chairman Robin Salisbury. A little Bob, a little bit of, yeah, okay. My reasons for this decision involve a very busy personal schedule driven by my career commitments, which are only increasing as I continue to perform my job, plus work to build a successor plan in these few years remaining before retirement. For the record, I have no plans to step down from my position as chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is good news. The frequency and duration of these meetings, those meetings and public hearings are significantly less burdensome on my personal schedule. Best regards, Stephen B. Offler. Hear a motion to accept his resignation.
Make a motion that we accept Steve's, letter here, with regrets.
Motion made and second, I second the motion, motion made and seconded that we accept Steve Offler's letter of resignation with regret. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving that over here. That. Moving over here, this, we have approval of the bills. Total I'm looking at here is $379,127.05 with a list of bills, library, water, payroll, Anthem health insurance, life insurance, deposit for culvert work, liability insurance, sewer use, and other things, weekly payroll again. So, ADP. ADP is the, ADP, Sarah, fill me in again, ADP is
Is
the
the
payroll
payroll
service.
service, yep.
Make a motion?
I'd like a motion to accept the treasury report as presented.
I will make a motion that we accept the, treasurer's report.
Approval of bills, not treasurer's report.
I make a motion, we accept the payment of the bill,
Approval of the bill.
approval of the bill, right? That's what you meant to say.
That's what I meant.
I second that motion. All in favor?
When you step down.
All in favor? Aye. All set. Now we're going to go on to the treasury report. Sorry about that.
Are you looking at the updated that she said she did yesterday?
No, I haven't printed the.
No,
updated
one
version.
seven thirty.
I won't print
No,
that until
7/12.
after I pay bills today.
We're looking at the 7/14 date, right?
I'm looking at one that started 7/1,
No, when you look at the bottom left-hand corner, when it was printed,
7/14,
at 3
that was
o'clock,
Monday.
3 o'clock, correct?
301.
3:01.
Mine was done an hour and a half earlier.
Yeah, mine too.
Mine was done 1:16.
3:08.
So one of
So
them
change mine.
is,
So you're
one of
looking at
them is for
previous.
the end
There's
of the
two
fiscal
different,
year, and then the other
Yeah.
one is for the new fiscal.
there's two different,
Right, one
treasurer's
is, one is to
reports.
the end of the fiscal year, and one is the beginning of the new fiscal year.
But she printed another one at 3:08.
Okay,
That's the
that's
old
fine.
fiscal year.
She can print as many times she wants. I'm satisfied with this report.
I make a motion we accept the treasurer's report.
You already, well, that was my mistake.
Yeah.
I second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Any other business? Yes, we do have any other business. I mentioned earlier about a culvert project that's being conducted at the moment on Snake Meadow Hill Road, to be completed by the end of this week. That particular area is in great need of a guardrail. Narrow road, quite a drop off, and it's one of those things we just have never had a guardrail of any kind there. It's come to our attention that it really needs to have a
By
guardrail.
that culvert?
Where that culvert.
Yeah, that's really bad.
It's narrow, anyway, we have received a bid from Atlas Fence Company, which is the same company that you'll find does most of the fence work for DOT on the state highway. Bid for $6,000, 59,000 and change, 5,900 and change to do that. And this is where the $10,000 limit comes in. So I'm gonna ask for a motion that we
I
hire,
make a motion that,
hire Atlas Fence.
hire Atlas Fence and put those guardrails up.
Motion, I will second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. That's gonna be a safety feature. We probably should do similar things to that, to probably another 125 culverts in the town. Just for the record, we all had a, Dave and I and Jack and I were at a convention a couple of years ago, and we had a chance to speak with a company that basically sold on the idea that they can do grants for municipalities. The representative came out here, talked about that. He said the minimum grant is $1 million. So you could have a project that's worth at least $1 million, or they don't want to be involved. So we agreed that maybe we should take a look at the guardrail situation in town, and we did. The same Atlas Fence Company came out, and they estimated, I think the end is about 1.25 million to do every culvert, because there's two sides of the road. There's a standard they have to go by. If a culvert is a certain size, they have to have a certain length of pipe, of fence. Same here. When this is done, you're gonna see 62.5 feet of fence on either side of that road, which seems a little excessive. That's the standard. They have no choice but to put that much in. It's probably not the same. That's a double culvert. That's not the same probably for a single, but anyway. So that quote is sitting somewhere in my paperwork this morning. If we ever get around to doing that bid, that, get that grant, at least we have their quote. That's the best way to start. It's over the $1 million threshold.
Would that grant include improvements to the culvert flow before the fence is put up, or just the fence?
Just the guardrail. That's all they do. Just guardrails.
So, because some of those culverts really should, because once your fence is up, it's hard to get at them
Right.
to clean it
I
up.
wouldn't hold my breath until the fences get put up, frankly. But anyway, that was just that was an estimate that we got. That estimate also included every place where there is a post and rail fence, a post and cable fence now.
Mhm.
We have them all over town in a variety of places. He was gonna replace every one of them with guardrail. Now, this is regular highway department galvanized guardrail. We're not talking about posts and wires. We're talking about solid fencing. And, he did comment, he says that from space, it was gonna look like Sterling is all of a sudden illuminated completely with this is miles of fencing. For instance, see the Swamp Road. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or not, but there's a lot of open space on either side of that road. There would be fencing. The entire length of that space, like 1,300 feet on both sides of the road. So, but that was part of his estimate. So, anyway, about $1 million to do the whole town. Any other questions? If not, I'll ask for adjournment.
Just one other thing, like, I took a ride up to Leho Road yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think that was a fantastic job they did up there.
I agree.
I haven't talked to you about that yet, and I can't think of the name of the company for what.
Pinecroft paving.
Pinecroft, that's it. But I think we finally found somebody that knows how to pay,
Yeah.
in our budget or whatever.
What he's referring to is part of our road resurfacing arrangement for this year is to, we're gonna do Porter Pond Road in a 3-step process, including 2 layers of chip seal. Same thing for Spring Lake Road. And on Leho Road, we couldn't do the same process because there wasn't enough pavement on it. They know to do what they have to do. That three-step process starts with basically milling the entire road and rejuvenating that material, going back down as an initial pavement. That's what'll happen on Port Pond and Spring Lake. Couldn't do it on Layhoe because two reasons. Number one, it's a dead end road, and they couldn't turn their equipment around to do it. Secondly, there's simply not enough pavement on the road to do it. So instead of that, we settled for 2 layers of chip seal. Following, the chip seal will follow a layer of skim coat that we had prime croft paving out of Woodstock and down to do. That's what Jack's referring to. And the road is immeasurably better than it was before, even though it's only a skim coat.
Right.
It's just, the road's in pretty rough shape. So,
It's almost, you don't even need.
I know, that's the, right. I thought the same thing when I drove over it. It's just that we have been contracted to
No,
do it.
no,
I think eventually it'll be much better. We're gonna have 2 layers of chip seal put down, a layer of 3/8 stone and a layer of 1/4 inch stone, done in separate passes. And I think the road will be very, very much better than it already is, but it will be better than that. So I had a lady come in right after that was done. She lives on Brookstone Road, and that is the road off of Lego. And she did everything but kiss me. She came in and she shook my hand. She wanted to hug me. I said, we can do without that. Thank you anyway. She was so thrilled that the road was now passable. And anyway, it's obviously much, much better.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, and that is just a skim coat. That's not, we didn't put 2 layers of kind of blacktop down like we typically would. So anyway.
Well, I think that speaks to the value to the citizens of applying some surplus to the quality of their roads.
No question. No, you're absolutely right. This lady was also one who, just for the record, to complete the story. She called me 2 months ago and wanted to know what we were gonna do about that road. And she informed me that she had just purchased a very expensive piece of property on Layhoe Road. On Brookstone, very, very expensive. Apparently came, I guess, I asked her, that's a very large price, because she told me how much she paid for it. And she said, well, that includes a lot of land. Okay, so that explains that. Then she went on to say that, she says, I hope you plan to do something with Layhoe Road, because in order to get to my road, I've got to go over a portion of Layhoe Road. I said, well, you're in luck. I said, that's on the plan for this year. It's going to be resurfaced. Oh, I certainly hope so. That's the tone. That didn't set well, but then that's what I got. And she said, oh, and by the way, I saw some people out there the other day that were putting black stuff in the holes. I said, that's called coal patch. I said, they have to do that. Those are potholes. Well, she said, I want you to know that when I drive my Corvette down that road, I have to dodge those holes because I don't want to get that black stuff under my car.
Okay.
So anyway, that's the first half of the story. And the second half of the story is the other day she wanted to come in and give me a $1,000 rate. I mean, she was that pleased. She said, if you need anything, you just call me. I said, I may hold you to that. Anyway,
We'll see you at tax time.
Yeah,
what's that?
see you at tax time.
Anyway, so I know that now I don't have to be terribly concerned about a Corvette any longer. And because the pavement, although it doesn't go the entire length of Lego Road, it goes almost, and it goes as far as her road, and that's all she's concerned about, so. Interesting stuff.
Motion,
You're
I'll
gonna
make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second the motion, we are adjourned.
Can I ask you one more, what's that, trench we dug up there at the Grange, what's that all
No, it has nothing to do with the town.
about? Oh, it isn't?
The town has nothing to do with
Oh,
it.
it's here, goes from the road all the way.
I can tell you what it's about, just because I'm a member of the Grange.